everybody. We're on our third episode here, the recently added channel. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to cover a couple of things. The concept of the live album, some key highlights there that have really showcased why it's necessary or even a good thing for bands to do. We're going to cover two bands, Architects and Loathe. We're going to also cover drug and substance abuse in music, just kind of touch on the subject, something that I want to explore a little bit later on. And of course, the merch haul highlights at the end. My new background that I'm giving a shot here is the crowd from Midsummer. We've got the pyramid in the back there, if I just inch a little bit off the way. If you haven't seen the movie, don't sleep on it. Definitely a crazy one. There's an unedited version out there that I got an opportunity to see. 3 hours of rituals that just did not need to make the movie, but the live albums. Obviously now in 21, we haven't seen a concert in about a year. You know, for someone who grew up going to shows, my first show that I went to was Ozfest 98. I got an opportunity to see Tool, Megadeth, Snot, Seven Dust, Incubus playing at 11:30 a.m. Our first club gig was War on the We Kill Everything tour. Not a good first show to see on the Barricade at 12. It definitely opened up my eyes to a lot. I became a lifelong fan, got an opportunity there to see Odorous in person for the first time, a band that I would see probably over 30 times career to date. So here we are, 21, haven't seen a concert in over a year. The longest time, I think the biggest gap in shows that I've ever experienced, probably from when I was year 0 to 11, when I went to Ozfest. Made me kind of go back and revisit the need for live albums. So when I think of live albums, some of the greats, first one that comes to mind is Pantera's Official Live. That one really captured the band well. Think about the magnitude of the shows that they were playing as a band that only had 5 albums. You know, when they played that specific gig, it was right around the Great Southern Trendkill, and it was a super explosive set. And I think that's something that really catapulted the band's career. I don't think that Official Live is looked at just like any other live album. I think with Pantera, it actually falls into line with the rest of their catalog. So that's a live album that definitely made the band, in my opinion. I really love the 311 Live. 311 Live features a different side of the band. If you've never seen 311 Live, that album is definitely a good place to start. And if you think about 311 Day and those live performances, some of those are just like 50 song sets, just go on forever. But that 311 Live features Who's Got the Herb, a song that is definitely highlighted live. Another live collection that I think is super noteworthy is Metallica's live shit, Binge and Purge. It came out as a 3 VHS set with a 3-disc set. I think some shows in Mexico City and all over California. That's definitely an iconic collection that it's all over YouTube. You can see people unpacking it with the book and the stencil and the whole collection. But another thing that really fell into the band's history that didn't just kind of supplement the band, but actually became a part of their iconic catalog. The subject of Metallica, Cunning Stunts, not necessarily a live album, but a live DVD that is filmed incredibly well. And now with YouTube and like they're just throwing absolutely everything onto the internet, I think that Cunning Stunts is one of those that really curates the band's set. And the last live album, and it's a little taboo to even mention right now, but Manson's last tour on Earth. Manson is to me, when I was looking at Manson as a kid, always looked like a very dangerous show. This precedes Slipknot and Dillinger Escape Plan. We're talking late 90s, Antichrist Superstar era, Manson. And right around when Mechanical Animals came out, Manson dropped the last tour on Earth, sandwiched with Hollywood, another really good Manson release. Obviously, there's a lot going on with Marilyn Manson in general, but if we're on the subject of live albums, the last tour on Earth is definitely a notable album that, you know, definitely cements an artist and does more than just supplements the band. I think it definitely is an album on its own right. So let me know what you think. If you think live albums are a waste of time, I know that that's something that I think used to be really cool before YouTube and social media and all of these platforms gave an opportunity for bands to connect with the artists in ways that we didn't have before. So it's kind of a timepiece now. I think if bands like North Lane or, Amity Affliction, just don't think that it would have the same output. But then you take a look and see what bands like Code Orange are doing right now with their live streams, and it really is taking things to the next level. So who knows? Let me know what you think. I think that the classics were great, and now we have so many other ways to connect with artists where I really don't think it's something that we need to entertain. Moving on, Architects are a band that's right around the corner of releasing their 9th album. So I know that I got into the band on Ruin, and when I checked out that record, it really was a super techie, almost like a Dillinger type of band. Hollow Crown was insane. I think that when that record came out with songs like Early Grave, We're All Alone, Follow the Water, Numbers Count for Nothing, I think that record is a metalcore masterpiece. And that's it's weird about the term metalcore is like you hear people talk about albums like this, and then also, I mentioned Amity Affliction earlier, people throw the word metalcore around with that band also, and like all those Empiricon bands. But then you really listen to that record, and I don't know, that's like on a level all of its own. So the term metalcore is like almost using the word like rap, there's so many different kinds of hip hop and urban culture in general. Like there's so many different elements to it where I think the term metalcore just kind of flops into it, because when you think about bands like Hatebreed and Shadows Fall, Lamb of God, like do we just call all of that metalcore? Do we call all of that heavy metal? But when Ruin and Hollow Crown were the only records, and Nightmares was their first one that I don't think really stood out that much. It was really on those other 2 albums. But then right after that, the band released The Here and Now, which is where they seemed to turn a corner. And right when they lost their main songwriter, Tom, it seems like that's where they really delivered one of the most prominent records. All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. That was almost like a return to form. It really showed both sides of the band. I think they tried to capture on Lost Forever and Daybreaker and The Here and Now and didn't really get there. But that was a remarkable album. So here we are, a week away from Those That Wish to Exist, and then everyone's talking about old Architects and what they like and what they don't like. But at this point, the band dropped their first record in 2006. It's been 15 years. And there's no way you can expect a group of guys to continue to deliver the same music. I can imagine that if you've worked with a band for 15 years and 15 of those years spent on the road and releasing records, there's no doubt that you're going to change the direction of your albums. So I think the band's gotten a little bit watered down. I'm not necessarily a big fan for what the new output has been, but you definitely have to respect what they're doing. But again, if you are looking for a place to start with Architects and you are bogged down with all the trash that's out there, don't sleep on Hollow Crown. I think that's probably one of the best records that came out between 2005 and 2010, and I stand by that. Everybody's been talking about Loathe. Loathe made every year-end list. They even made our year-end list last year. I think their record that came out, I Let It In, and It Took Everything, was heralded as the latest and greatest thing that came out of the metal community. I personally really liked The Cold Sun, but I'm not going to pretend like that album did not stand out to me. I think the vocal performance was highlighted well. Everyone's always wanted to touch on things that Chino has been capable to do in the Deftones catalog, and even Chino himself came out and hyped the band's ability. But now, here we are a year later. They didn't really get an opportunity to promote the tour by playing shows, but the band releases an ambient record called The Things They Believe. I don't know if you have time in your life to sit and listen to an atmospheric album that is looking to extend the elements of the prior release and really focus on what's out there and convey additional emotions and putting in effort to function in some artsy art way. But I don't know. I listened to this thing. I fell asleep to it. I listened to it again the next day, dozed off thinking about things I needed to do. I just don't really see how that was necessary. I think it was a little bit self-indulgent. If you really want to hear things like that, where bands explore those elements, I highly recommend a record from 2010 by a band called Amia Venera Landscape. Mia Venera Landscape is an Italian band that delivered their one and only album, The Long Procession. They have been hyping up a follow-up to that record for many, many years, and hopefully we will see it soon. That's a record that I think captured what Loathe were trying to do with their spacey intro tracks that kind of aimlessly float around for no reason. The Things They Believe, I think, was a misstep. I don't think that that's what they should have done. I think if they wanted to stay in the spotlight, maybe an EP just as intense of I Let It In and It Took Everything would have done the trick. Even 2-3 songs, we don't need a full thing, but for them to deliver this follow-up secret unexpected album, I think was kind of a misstep. Most recently, something that came up on the PRP was Jeff Rickley from Thursday fame talking about drug struggles that he had during the band's career, and something that he was opening up about his own struggles and hardships. And it really got me thinking a lot about how much work it takes to be in a band and ability to stay productive throughout that time frame while they were struggling with the personnel in the band, substance abuse. When you think about this topic and you think about bands like Motley Crue, that like their whole shtick was the party aspect, branding, and now in 2021, I think about how much work it actually takes to be in a band, from songwriting, planning, schedule coordination, promotion, how much money it just takes to put into art, merch, and travel. It's unbelievable that those bands got the notoriety that they did. So it's really interesting to hear when bands talk about struggling with substance abuse and drug abuse and continue to stay productive. It just kind of makes you think, number one, does it impact the art? Or two, what could they have possibly accomplished if they were sober during that whole time? I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like we don't really know who the person is. Do these chemicals kind of offset them in a way where it makes them be artistic, or was it a hindrance to something greater? I don't really know how much bigger bands like Motley Crue could have been. I think that's probably one of the biggest bands of our lifetime, and certainly Jeff Rickley opening up about his drug and substance abuse is monumental for people who listen to the emo genre and struggle with their own thoughts and feelings. Music is something that I grew up always seeing at Warped Tour was it's okay not to be okay. I think it's important to understand that people struggle with anxiety and depression. Maybe the band is the only place where they can connect with those emotions, and sometimes it might not even be their friends or the camaraderie and the personnel within the band, but just the fact that they have a place to go that provides some kind of routine for them, helps some of that chemical imbalance and some of those emotions to just level off. So let me know what you think. I think that there's a lot there, but it's always surprising to me when I just hear about bands that struggled with it and then still remained incredibly productive. Just have to rep the Black My Heart hoodie that was recently dropped, that was shouted out by the guys at Unbroken Wings. Black My Heart is a band that delivered an album called Before the Devil back when I was in college in 2005. For a band that didn't really stick around, a Boston area band. It seemed like they came and went. A hit track was We Weren't Brought Up Right. Straight edge band, throwing down, really spoke to the hardcore and familial elements that really drove this scene together. If you haven't checked out Black My Heart, hopefully they're coming out with something new. Hopefully this merch drop that they recently had was a sign of things to come. Haven't seen anything else come out from them, but obviously in 15 or 16 years without anything but one hoodie, you can bet your ass that I'm gonna buy it. Record that I'm gonna highlight today is Baroness, Gold and Gray. Baroness is an absolutely legendary band. I think what's really cool about Baroness is their art. I think if you are not aware of what John Baisley brings to the table with his elements and you love packaging and just spending your money on stupid shit, I think Baroness is a great place to start. If you're going into a record store and you're not sure of what to buy, head straight for the bees and find yourself a Baroness record. It doesn't matter which album you buy. Any Baroness album that you take home that has a color on it, whether it's red, yellow, and green, blue, purple, not only are they phenomenal records, the packaging, absolutely remarkable. John Baisley is an incredible artist, and if you have an opportunity to take anything that he's done home, highly recommended. Nowadays, when you're spending money on music and you're bringing it home, it better be worth your time, and it better be worth your money. So if you don't really know your way to navigate around a record store, some tips that I would have is just know what your favorite bands are. Start there. Take a look at what their packaging is, because you're probably going to get a bigger bang for your buck when you buy a vinyl rather than buying a CD. That's it. Hope you dig the show. Hope you dig the background. Hope you dig the features. Let us know what you think. Stay metal.